Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 40 Questions. My name is Stephen Walker, and tonight I am interviewing Patrick Conway.
Nice to meet you, Stephen.
Nice to meet you, Patrick. Thank you for coming.
No problem.
So we begin with the first question is, where are you from, Patrick?
I'm from Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so this will be episode number 8, and episode 7 was with Owen Daly, who was from the Republic of Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us, or tell the audience, where is Northern Ireland?
Well, it's in the west of Europe. It's basically the furthest west you can go before you hit the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
And Northern Ireland, as the name suggests, is the northern part of the island of Ireland. Although, funnily enough, the Republic of Ireland actually stretches further north than Northern Ireland. The north point of Ireland, the island, is actually Malin Head of Republic. Sometimes I tell people I'm from Ireland, sometimes I say I'm from Northern Ireland. And Northern Ireland, of course, is one of the 4 nations of the UK.
Right, which are?
England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
Okay. And so the Republic of Ireland, the nationality is Irish. People from the Northern Ireland, if I were to ask you, what nationality are people from Northern Ireland?
It's a very interesting question, Stephen, because I actually have an Irish passport.
Okay.
And a lot of people are surprised to know that in Northern Ireland you can actually have either an Irish or a British passport, or indeed both.
Okay.
So sometimes when you meet people from Northern Ireland, they'll say, yes, I'm a Northern Irish person. And sometimes they'll say, I'm a British person.
Right.
If you ask me, I'll say, I'm Irish.
Question 4 is the population. What is the population of Northern Ireland?
It's pretty small, Stephen. It's only about 1.8 million, in fact. And just to maybe forecast your next question, the capital city, Belfast, would take up about 300,000 of that.
Okay. So that is the next question. The population of Belfast.
Yeah, over 300,000. It would be 300,000. Kind of similar to maybe Glasgow or Manchester. And it did develop as one of the major cities during the Industrial Revolution in Britain. And did you know that the Titanic was built in Belfast?
I did not know that. The Titanic,
Indeed, the ship which sailed so successily.
Yeah, it lasted all of, well, we don't have to talk about that.
A few days, but you can actually visit the Titanic Quarter. Maybe I'll mention a little more about that later. Yeah, there's a Titanic Quarter in Belfast.
The Titanic Quarter?
Yeah, you can visit a museum.
Where it was built?
That's right, yeah. It was built in the Docklands, Harland and Wolff shipyard.
Very interesting. Okay, well, I'll look forward to that. Okay, moving into Unit 2, which is shapes, sizes, and appearances. Patrick, the flag of Northern Ireland. What color is the flag of Northern Ireland?
Basically, it's red and white.
Red and white.
Yes.
And the next question, question 7, what does the flag look like?
Well, it has a white background, and on that you've got a rectangular red cross.
Okay.
And imposed upon that there's 2 symbols.
It's a rectangular cross.
Yeah.
Is it vertical or horizontal cross?
So, basically a line going across and 1 line down the middle.
And are there any meanings with the colors?
Well, red is a color associated with Ulster, and particularly the red hand, which is
Ulster is.
Yeah, Ulster is actually used sometimes interchangeably with Northern Ireland. You'll see sometimes, for example, one of the 2 universities in the province is Ulster University.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty much interchangeably, Ulster, Northern Ireland. Although technically the Ulster province does actually have some territory in the Republic of Ireland.
And the white?
Well, the white basically would be meaning peace.
Yeah.
Which is a similar meaning from the Republic flag. Peaceful symbol.
So it's a red and white. There's no symbols on it?
There's two main symbols. One of them is the red hand.
Okay.
And that's actually significant for both communities in Northern Ireland. The Red Hand comes from one of the ancient myths of Ireland. We have a hero called Cuchulainn. Cuchulainn is one of the myths, and the Red Hand is a symbol from those mythological times. And the other symbol is the crown, which of course refers to the current Queen of England. Basically Northern Ireland is part of the UK, so some loyalty to the British crown.
Gotcha. Okay. And questions 8 and question 9 talk about the appearance of the people. On average, Patrick, what do the majority of women and men look like in Northern Ireland?
Well, I would say the kind of stereotype about Northern Irish is the mixture of Scottish and Irish. The redhead, the typical redhead, and freckled person.
Okay.
And in summer we tend to get sunburned easily. Right. We have quite pale skin, as you can see from myself. I'm pretty
as well.
pale,
so I have a bit of Irish in me, but
we don't take the sun too well. I mean, if there was a Northern Irish person walking down the street, I couldn't just jump out and say, oh, he's definitely from Northern Ireland, as opposed to America or any other country. But yeah, stereotypically, even in my own family, my father would have a lot of freckles and the reddish hair.
Okay, and you have a hat on, but do you sport red hair? Or?
I once had kind of dark brown hair.
Okay.
I'm losing it now, but
That's the hat.
I still have my pale skin.
It suits you well. Question 10, Patrick. What minorities live in Northern Ireland?
Similar to the Republic of Ireland, we would have a travelling community in Northern Ireland. Those would be, I guess, the Romani people. And they have not always interacted very harmoniously with the so-called native people, but increasingly there are laws to protect their identity and culture.
Right.
And hopefully, over time, people start to respect other cultures.
Any others?
In Northern Ireland, you would have some South Asian people, just like the British mainland.
Okay.
So that means some Indian or Pakistani people would be seen. But in fairness, Northern Ireland would be a fairly homogeneous place. Pretty much a lot of guys looking like me, Caucasian, white people.
Moving into Unit 3, which is food, tastes, and ingredients. Northern Ireland, what is a traditional food that is eaten in Northern Ireland, Patrick?
I'd probably have to mention the Ulster fry, Stephen. It's kind of funny, if you visit England, they'll tell you about the traditional English breakfast. If you go to Ireland, the south, they'll mention the Irish breakfast, the full Irish. But up in the north, we call it the Ulster fry.
Okay.
And
so the Ulster fry. The next question is the ingredients.
Yes.
So what are the ingredients of a Ulster fry?
Okay, well, along with the kind of standard things of bacon, fried egg, toast, beans, in Ulster we would have soda farl, soda bread.
Soda farl?
A farl or soda bread.
Farl is bread?
Yeah, that's right. And that would be also fried. And we also have potato bread.
Okay.
Potato bread, as the name suggests, main ingredient potato and flour, and that can be warmed up as well. So it's really delicious. You'd have a chunk of butter to add to your bread as well, and of course a cup of tea. Tea would be the drink we'd like to have with our breakfast.
So the tea is a bit of a British thing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, things are changing these days, but if you visited my parents' house, you'd be immediately invited to have a cup of tea.
Right.
Coffee.
Who doesn't like a good cup of tea?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And so the Ulster fry, question 13 is the taste. Can you describe the taste of an Ulster fry?
If I was being objective, I'd have to say it would be on the greasy side.
Right.
Or some students might say oily, a little oily, but greasy. Yeah, you certainly wouldn't want to be eating it every day of your life. It's a bit heavy for
Some people do.
modern times.
or
yeah.
bit.
But you know, if it's fried or toasted well, you know, it's going to be a satisfying taste as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Really tasty.
And the smell. So when you were young, and your mother would be
Oh yeah, I
putting
mean,
this together in the kitchen in the morning for
oh
you?
yeah, I mean, if you
So what was the smell like? Do you remember?
yeah, I mean, you'd have the smell of the sausage, the bacon, the egg coming off the frying pan, you know, that smell, you know, it's going to entice you.
So it's an enticing smell.
An enticing smell, definitely. Even if you weren't starving, you'd certainly be in the mood for eating when you're getting those smells from the frying pan.
Yeah.
And you know, you get a nice scent of tea as well when the tea has been brewed.
Okay.
The smell of a nice cup of tea is good as well.
So is it a black tea?
That's right. Yeah,
Traditionally?
yeah. You would. We usually use tea bags. You'd brew the tea and then you put your milk into the cup first.
Okay.
And
So
then
it's a milk tea.
Yeah, that's right. You'd take the milk from the fridge. You don't have to heat up the milk. You'd add a small amount of milk, and then you'd fill up your cup, and
with hot water.
yeah, after having brewed the tea with the hot
you've
water,
already brewed the tea.
yeah, then you'd put in the tea from your teapot.
Got
the
it.
teapot's what we would use in Ireland. Yeah.
Okay, all right. One more question regarding food.
Mm-hmm.
Question 15, the texture. Can you describe some textures that go along with eating an Ulster fry?
Yeah, as I said, you'd like your bread to be, you know, warmed or toasted enough so that it would have a crunchy texture, I guess.
Okay.
You know, when you're eating it, you'd have the crunchy texture. I personally like to eat the crust of my bread as well. So if I had some toast, I would eat the crust as well, and it'd be a nice, I guess, crunchy texture to that toast.
Crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
And the bacon, traditionally?
The bacon, a bit chewy. You know, I guess the fatty part of the bacon, which can be the tastiest part.
Yeah.
Even if it's the unhealthy part, you could chew on that for a while.
Chew the fat, as they say.
Chew the fat.
And what else? You got the bread, the bacon.
Well, the egg.
What kind of? How do you prepare the eggs? Is it a sunny side or is it a scrambled? Traditionally.
I mean that can be one of the pleasures of that breakfast is when you stick your fork into the egg and the yolk breaks and you've got your runny yellow mix there. So I guess that's a smoother texture.
Yeah, that's right. As my father used to say, it sounds scrumptious.
Yeah.
Unit 4 is weather, seasons, and landscapes. Question 16. Northern Ireland, as you said, it's a pretty small area geographically, but what is the landscape like in Northern Ireland? If we go maybe from the west to the east.
Well, from the west side, around my homeland in the northwest, we have some mountains. The Sperrin Mountains is where I live pretty close to. So the mountains, if you go up a little higher, even on a nice day, it's going to be pretty windy, and the rain can come fast down off the mountains, and the clouds can cover over the peak of the mountains pretty regularly as well. And
so you're from this part? What area?
Yeah, I'm from the northwest. The county is called County Derry.
County Derry.
It actually has two names, Stephen. I didn't know if we would get into this topic, but my hometown, nearest city, second city of Northern Ireland, is called officially Londonderry in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
But if you're driving from the Republic of Ireland, all the signs say Derry.
Derry, okay.
Because originally this place was called Derry, or Dura in Irish, but after the British colonization, they changed the name to Londonderry. Okay. So that can be a source of humor and some division these days.
Yeah. So then we go east from Londonderry or Derry.
Yeah, I've got to mention, Stephen, right bang in the middle of Northern Ireland, there's a huge lake, or we call it a loch.
A loch.
Like in Scottish, they spell it L-O-C-H. Some of your Viewers may have heard of the Loch Ness Monster,
Yeah.
Nessie.
Yeah.
In Northern Ireland, we spell it Lough, and the big lake in Northern Ireland is called Loch Ness.
Loch Ness.
So
Okay.
yeah, if you look at any map of Northern Ireland, you'll see a little chunk out of the middle.
Yeah, nice big lake.
Yeah,
Or
called
loch.
Loch Ness. Yeah, and then moving over to the east side, you also have some mountain ranges. You have the Mourne Mountains, Mourne Mountains in
Okay.
County Down, right at the east coast. And there is a little peninsula over at the east coast as well, so it's actually possible to get a little ferry from one town across the bay to the other
Right.
side.
Okay. And so that's
Yeah, our mountains.
the northern part of Northern Ireland. Is it any different? The coastal.
Yeah, the coast would be the most important thing to mention, Stephen. We have a stretch of coast called the Causeway Coast.
Okay.
And I'll mention that as a place to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a place called the Glens of Antrim.
Okay.
And glen is an Irish word for a valley.
Okay.
So the coastal driving route in Northern Ireland is very popular.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'd look forward to seeing that one day. Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into question 17, seasons.
Yeah,
Do you have 4 seasons in Northern Ireland?
we do indeed,
You do?
Stephen. And some
Okay.
people would say we have 4 seasons in a day. The old cliche.
Right.
It really can apply sometimes in Northern Ireland. I think as a visitor to Northern Ireland, you might be a little disappointed in summer. If you're expecting 1 or 2 weeks of constant sunshine, you'd be sorely disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm afraid we do have a rather grey and a rainy climate. Not the monsoon season that you would see in other parts of the world, but
Right.
just as we would say, a drizzle or a light rain, which would be almost daily.
Wow. Patrick, when you were growing up, what was one of your favorite seasons in Northern Ireland as a child?
I guess I'd have to say autumn.
Autumn.
Stephen,
okay.
yeah.
So can you describe a bit of the weather? Question 18, what is the weather like in
Yeah.
the autumn in Northern Ireland?
I suppose the most positive way to describe it would be fresh weather.
Yeah.
You know, a nice breeze.
Okay.
Certainly not too hot.
The Irish breeze.
And you know, Stephen, I have memories as a young boy of collecting horse chestnuts. We have a game from Northern Ireland called Conkers,
Okay.
which actually is popular around Britain. You would pick up the horse chestnut, take off the peel, and then you would try to harden the shell inside. You would put a string through the shell, and then you would hold up your conker, and your friend would have the first shot with his conker trying to smash yours. So believe it or
so this is a nut from a tree?
yeah, the chestnut, the horse chestnut.
chestnut.
We didn't. I don't recall eating chestnuts as a boy. We collected them only for our conker fights.
Right. But in other countries, they eat them
Yeah,
seasonally.
that's right.
Yeah. Okay, moving into question 19. What natural disasters, if any, do you find in Northern Ireland?
You know, Stephen, until recently, I would have said that the whole island of Ireland and the north was blessed in terms of not having extreme weather patterns. But, you know, perhaps because of global warming, recently we have been encountering some storms, the sort of storms we would usually have seen on TV from the USA, perhaps. Very recently, there's been some maximum category storms coming across Northern Ireland, and with that there was also flooding.
Okay, yeah.
My father has a little bit of land. He does some farming, and the river running through his land would have overflowed, causing quite a lot of damage.
Right.
And indeed, some of our sheep would have been swept away by some strong currents.
So flooding and maybe flash floods?
Yeah.
Flash
Yeah,
flooding.
that's right, flooding.
That's another
Yeah.
one
I
that
mean,
people don't think of often, but it happens like that. Okay, and question 20, holidays. What is an important holiday in Northern Ireland, Patrick?
There are two very important holidays in Northern Ireland. One of them we share in common with the Republic, that is St. Patrick's Day,
Right.
March 17th. And the other major holiday, which comes from the British tradition, is the July 12th holiday, where the Protestant or British people remember the Battle of the Boyne, where William of Orange won a famous battle over the Catholic King James. And on that day, many of those people will dress up in orange regalia, orange costumes, and they will march on certain roads and congregate with music and a lot of entertainment.
Okay, Patrick. Unit 5 is ports, transportation, and accommodation. What is the main international airport in Northern Ireland?
We have two actually, Stephen. The older airport is called Belfast International Airport, or locally known as Aldergrove, which is in a countryside area a little bit away from Belfast. But there is also a Belfast City Airport, which is also called George Best Airport, and I may mention him further in a while.
Right. So internationally, which we would fly into either of
both
the
of
two?
those airports
Both are
have international routes. I guess they would be considered as regional airports. To go on a long haul flight, you'd probably be transferring to a London airport.
Okay, all right. And question 22, modes of transportation. When we fly into one of these two airports, what kinds of transportation can we look forward to using?
You know, Stephen, in terms of public transport in Northern Ireland, the bus really is king.
Yeah.
Our rail system is very out of date, actually. It was probably better in the 19th century than it is right now. And if you live in a countryside area of Northern Ireland, the chances are you'll be depending on your car to get around.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess some people will hire a car if they want to tour around Northern Ireland.
Right.
But your next best bet is taking a bus.
Taking a bus. Okay. And question 23, hotels. When we're traveling to a new spot in Northern Ireland and we want to find a place to stay for the evening, can you recommend a nice hotel for us to stay at?
Yeah, well, one immediately springs to mind, and I'm going to be mentioning the famous Giant's Causeway tourist attraction. Right beside that place, there's a place called the Causeway Hotel.
Okay.
And it's a nice hotel, with the main attraction being its location, of course, right beside the coast and right beside that #1 attraction of Northern Ireland, the Giant's Causeway.
Right. Do you know what are some amenities that are offered at the Causeway Hotel?
It has some viewing points. If you walk around, there's a kind of a park area, so you could actually have a nice view of the coast from there. Maybe take a little walk. Unlike some other countries, if you stay in a hotel in Northern Ireland, typically a breakfast would be included, so you might get one of those Ulster fried breakfast in the morning, which would be something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else, like, I don't know, free Wi-Fi or swimming pool, or it's a larger hotel, I presume? Or?
Wi-Fi would be standard in any average-sized hotel in the province, and you know, these hotels will provide some entertainment as well for adults who want to enjoy the evening. You know, they have a bar, or they have some children's activities as well.
Right.
I guess.
Okay, sounds good. And question 25, the exchange rate. So first, what is the currency used in Northern Ireland? It's
interesting, Stephen. On the one island of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland uses the euro, and in Northern Ireland we use the British pound.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And typically that would have been a pretty strong currency against the dollar. But you know, recently some people may have heard of this Brexit situation. There's a kind of a political instability, and the currency has dropped in value recently.
And so the question is, do you know what the exchange
Yes.
rate is from the British pound
I believe
to the
these
American
days,
dollar?
1 British pound would get you approximately $1.25, so about $1.33 for 1 British pound.
Okay, all right. Unit 6, greetings, gestures, and customs. Patrick, what is a greeting that is commonly used in Northern Ireland?
I've got a really good one for you, Stephen, especially around my hometown. We say to people, what's the crack?
What's the crack?
What's the crack? We're not talking about any kind of drugs or narcotics. We're using the Irish word for fun. Crack, C-R-A-I-C.
C-R-A-I-C.
So it's
crack.
basically saying to your friends, you know, anything funny going on these days?
Okay.
What's the crack?
So that would be similar to what's up?
Yeah.
Kind of.
That's
What's
right,
the crack?
yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
What's the crack?
What's the crack?
So what's the crack, Patrick?
Oh, everything's good, Stephen.
Everything's good?
Yeah.
All right. Good to hear that. And question 27, gestures. What are some positive gestures, hand gestures, body gestures that are used in Northern Ireland?
I think I'd like to mention the wink, Stephen.
The wink.
The good old-fashioned wink.
Okay. And that's good.
Yeah, you know, these days K-pop is quite popular around the world, and a lot of these
Korean pop music,
cute boy and girl groups, they like to do a little wink to show how cute they are. But in Northern Ireland, sometimes when you wink at someone, it's showing that you might be telling a little white lie or kidding around, pulling someone's leg. So if you were, say, me and you and another friend were here, and I was telling something to my friend which I was just making fun of him, but I would secretly do a little wink to you to let you know that I was just you know, trying to make him angry or tease him.
Okay. So the wink is a good meaning.
Yeah, that's
generally.
right. It means you're having a little bit of fun.
Having a bit of a crack.
Yeah, I'll sometimes use it when I say hello to my friends. I'll like hello and then a little wink, just, you know, it means,
crack?
you know.
What's the crack, Patrick?
Yeah, what's the crack?
All right. And gestures that are impolite. So again, hand gestures, body gestures. What should we not do when we travel through Northern Ireland?
One jumps immediately to mind, Stephen. I think universally people realize that showing your middle finger to other people is a big no-no. That's very rude.
That's numero uno.
Yeah, but I think some people don't realize that in Britain and Ireland, 2 fingers raised to someone is also impolite. It's basically the same as 1 finger. So if you're taking, I've got a little tip for people visiting. If you're going to take pictures and do your finger style, use your fingers in this way. Don't turn them around the other way, because the other way would be considered impolite. Apparently,
so the back of the hand is the middle finger.
2 fingers basically equals 1 finger in Britain and Ireland.
Right. Okay, and question 29, customs.
Yeah.
Northern Ireland, what would be a custom or two that we should know about before traveling?
I've already mentioned to you, Stephen, the national holiday, the July the 12th. So any visitors to Northern Ireland, especially in summertime, should be aware that they could possibly encounter some of these marches.
Okay.
The so-called orange culture is very important to the British Protestant people of the region. Over 50% of people in Northern Ireland have that culture, and they will proudly march on the streets of their area around that day. So yeah, the orange culture is a very important custom for them.
And so if we're traveling and we see this, is there anything that we should prepare for or be cautious of?
Well, I think for a visitor from outside, the advice would be just to enjoy the day, you know. As I say, from their point of view, it's showing their culture, something to be proud of. It's a day of music and entertainment. It's nothing to be afraid of.
Right.
And I'm sure foreigners or visitors would find it very interesting.
Okay. And moving from that into the next question. The 30th question is religion. And so what is a religion, or what are some religions that are practiced throughout Northern Ireland?
Well, Stephen, in recent history, religion has been a very important issue in Northern Ireland, sometimes for negative reasons. Basically speaking, just over half, or about 54% of the population of Northern Ireland are officially known as Protestant people.
Yes.
So the Protestant umbrella can include certain religions such as Methodism, Presbyterianism, Baptist religion. A number of those together make up 54% roughly. And then about 46% of people in Northern Ireland are Catholic, Roman Catholic people.
Which basically comprise of the majority of the Republic of Ireland, or southern.
That's right, yeah.
Southern part of the island.
Correct.
Any other religions?
I guess these days there are some minority religions. Having some South Asian people, there would be some Hindus, perhaps a small number of Muslims.
Yeah, or maybe some Buddhists.
Yeah,
but predominantly it's Protestant and Catholic.
That's right.
Okay. Patrick, Unit 7 is landmarks, activities, and things to do. What is a good place to go sightseeing in Northern Ireland? You've alluded to it before, so...
Yeah, Stephen, I've got to mention the Causeway Coast, and specifically the Giant's Causeway.
Okay.
The Giant's Causeway is basically a collection of volcanic rocks, which are lying on the coast of Northern Ireland in such a fashion that you might think about, why are they there? And we have a story to tell the reason, if you want to believe it.
Well, we'll listen to it.
It's called the Giant's Causeway because the story goes that the Irish giant, Finn McCool, was a bit of a troublemaker. He shouted across the stretch of water to the coast of Scotland, not far away from there. And the Benandonner, the red-haired Scottish giant, heard the call. Turned out that the red giant was a lot bigger than Finn McCool had anticipated.
Okay.
So when he saw the red-haired giant running across, he changed his mind about having a fight. He decided to come back, running back home to Ireland. Now, they had thrown stones into the water. Finn McCool had built a kind of a causeway or path across the water using stones. And then when he saw the Scottish giant coming to fight him, eventually the stones were broken up. The stones were broken up again, just leaving the small clump of stones which you can see on the coast, which is now known as the Giant's Causeway.
Okay, and so these stones, it's a column.
Like columns, yes.
It's a geometric shaped.
Yeah, that's right.
Almost like a honeycomb.
That's a good word to describe it. Honeycomb shaped.
Yeah.
And of course there are geological reasons why these stones are here. But the legend is what enthralls children and makes people interested, because we do have these stories of legends and heroes from the past.
Yeah. You need a good story. Okay, and question 32, landmarks. What are some famous landmarks that we can find in Northern Ireland?
Okay, well, the Giant's Causeway is a landmark, of course. In Belfast City, you have the famous City Hall.
Okay.
It's a bit of a landmark. There's a famous hotel near the bus station, the Europa Hotel.
Okay.
If you were lost in the city and you said to someone, I want to go to the Europa Hotel, anybody could point you in that direction.
Okay. One more?
I should mention the second city of the north, Derry City, as I mentioned. It has a guild hall, which is another word for a town hall. Okay. Also near the bus terminal. So in the past, that would have been a very important center for the city.
Okay. And question 33, activities. In Southern Ireland, Gaelic sports are very popular, and we learned about that in the last episode. How about Northern Ireland? What are some activities that people enjoy in Northern Ireland?
Yeah, I think soccer is universally popular. We do have the Gaelic sports up north as well. In terms of the British culture, rugby is played around the province, and other sports like hockey and cricket, which come from the...
So you do play hockey?
Yeah, I'm talking about field hockey, Stephen.
Not the ice hockey.
Well, that's interesting, Stephen, because a lot of sports in Northern Ireland are divisive because some come from the British tradition, some come from the Irish tradition. So just a couple of decades ago, someone had the bright idea of making an ice hockey team.
Yeah.
And both communities could get behind it because there was no historical baggage. So there's a team called the Belfast Giants, coming from the story of the Giants Causeway.
There you go.
So yeah, you can see an ice hockey match in Belfast in the Odyssey Arena.
Okay, sounds good. Sports or not related to sports, an activity. What was an activity that you enjoyed growing up doing in Ireland, Northern Ireland, and where can we do it? Where's a good place to do an activity that you enjoyed doing?
Stephen, because of the poor weather in Northern Ireland, we would have a lot of indoor activities. So growing up, I can remember playing board games and card games.
Okay.
Even a board game like Scrabble or Monopoly would certainly pass an evening for you, or playing some card game like the memory game, turning over the cards on the table.
Right.
Yeah, I guess there would have been a lot of indoor activities due to the rainy weather.
Right, so pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, you could play those at home.
At home, in a hotel.
Yeah, we have some community halls.
Okay.
I come from a small village, and we have a community hall. There'd be things like bowls or a night of bridge, which is a kind of a card game.
What is that?
Bowls, not the 10-pin bowling, but bowling on a green, where you would have a small white ball, and then you would roll up the other balls, the bigger black balls, as close as possible. That's the sport of bowling, which is actually in the Commonwealth Games.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a recognized sport.
All right. And question 35 is people watching. Do you enjoy people watching?
I do, of course, Stephen.
Yeah, generally people do. So in Northern Ireland, where would you suggest is a good place to go people watching?
I tend to go to the shopping malls for people watching.
Yeah.
In my nearest city, Derry, there would be a couple of shopping malls, Foyleside and the Richmond Centre was the older one. And if you sat down in the middle of that, you would see people streaming back and forth between shops.
All shapes and sizes.
Yeah, indeed, that would be the best place.
Okay, Unit 8, Patrick. We're almost finished. Unit 8 is music, pop culture, and famous people. And I love Irish music, actually. I grew up enjoying it. What kinds of music are popular in Northern Ireland?
Okay, well, obviously the world is getting smaller, Stephen. In Northern Ireland too, we enjoy the pop music which comes across from mainland Britain and also from America.
Yeah.
In terms of local music, we do share that same traditional music culture as the South. And as I mentioned, the Orange Protestant culture, they would have a similar music culture, especially things like pipe bands and flute bands. When they go marching, the bands would go marching in the summer on that day out, and they spend a lot of time practicing for that day, and they all have their immaculate uniforms and the big drums.
Okay, so
pipes.
a bit of a marching band,
like marching band. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
All right. Any other kinds of music?
Well, from Northern Ireland, for example, my parents are very much into country music. Of course, country music has some roots in the USA, but also Ireland has produced a lot of country music singers. So yeah, my parents would often sit at home listening to the radio.
Anyone in particular?
I should mention my mother's favourite singer is Daniel O'Donnell.
Daniel O'Donnell.
Yes.
Okay.
He's from Donegal, the most northerly part of the island.
And that's part of the Republic of Ireland, Donegal.
That's right.
Right. So a shout out to
Daniel O'Donnell.
Daniel O'Donnell. Question 37. What are some famous people from Northern Ireland that you can tell us about?
Have you heard of the famous actor Liam Neeson?
I have.
Yeah, he's been in movies like Taken. He's been in the Star Wars franchise. Liam Neeson is from Northern Ireland, a town called Ballymena. Yeah.
Okay.
And basically, whenever Northern Ireland or Ireland has some big project, they roll out Liam Neeson to do some, voiceover for a video.
Right.
We're currently bidding for the Rugby World Cup of 2023.
Okay.
And Liam Neeson was involved in making a video for that.
Okay. Anyone else?
We have a famous writer, poet, Seamus Heaney, who won
Seamus Heaney.
Seamus Heaney won the Nobel Prize for Literature over a decade ago. Sadly, he's passed away now. He's from my home county of Derry.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a little museum now to remember him in his hometown of Balahi in South County Derry. And also I'll just mention quickly famous singer Van Morrison. Van Morrison.
One of my favorites, Patrick.
Brown-eyed girl.
Well, amongst many, yeah.
Apparently he's not a very nice guy, a bit grumpy, but a hell of a singer.
He's a great singer. Okay, question 38 is about the president or leader. Who is the president or the leader of Northern Ireland?
Yeah, in Northern Ireland there is some autonomy, devolution of power from the UK. We have what's called a First Minister.
Okay.
And the current First Minister of Northern Ireland is a lady. Her name is Arlene Foster. But at the moment, the Northern Ireland Assembly is not active because of disagreements between the British side and the Irish side. It's currently out of action, pretty much the government of Northern Ireland, sadly.
Okay. And question 39, subcultures. Are there any subcultures that we should know about in Northern Ireland?
Well, I've mentioned the two distinct cultures, the Orange culture and the Irish culture.
Right.
And one of the most interesting things you can see in Belfast or in Derry is the murals. Some cynics might say it's graffiti, but a lot of tourists actually flock to these famous walls where you can see in Derry there's a place called Free Derry Corner, which has some political significance, and it says welcome to Free Derry. They have some murals of some past incidents in Northern Ireland history. In Belfast there was a famous mural of the legendary football player George Best, who came from an area in Belfast.
Okay. All right. So the subculture is just, would it be the artists that
basically
are appreciating?
the mural artists, painting the walls of buildings in the cities.
Okay, well that's interesting. Patrick, can you believe it? It's question 40. Question 40 is about the national flower. Does Northern Ireland have a national flower?
Well, we do share the symbol of the Republic of Ireland, which is the shamrock.
Yeah.
Because Saint Patrick, who is the national saint of Ireland, is buried in Northern Ireland.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah, there's a town called Downpatrick.
Okay.
And there you can find his grave. I will also give an honourable mention to the blue flax flower, which is one of the symbols of the Northern Ireland Assembly in Stormont, Belfast.
The blue flax flower.
Yes, flax, F-L-A-X.
Okay. Well, it's about time to say goodbye. How do you say goodbye in Irish?
Well, Stephen, it's simply slán.
Slán. Okay, and as for me, thank you very much for watching. My name is Stephen Walker, and this is Tell Me About It. Until next time.